Today, on The Report, we discuss the kidnapping of 4 American citizens in Mexico.
Plus, the violent Cop City protests in Atlanta and snowed-in residents within the San Bernadino Mountains.
Also, Kim Jung Un's sister warning towards the U.S. and South Korea.
And landslide prevention in Rancho Palos Verdes. The Report starts now. Hello, I'm Alexis Ray.
I'm Elmira Darmanian.
I'm Shelby Martin.
And I'm Noah Sakadas. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Report CSUF or on our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF to keep in touch with us and view our new content.
4 American citizens were abducted at the Mexican border city of Matamoros, located in Mexico's Tamaulipas state, just across from Brownsville, Texas.
Shaeed Woodward, Sindel Brown, and Eric James Williams were accompanying their friend, 33-year-old Latavia McGee, to a scheduled cosmetic medical surgery procedure appointment.
The group of 4 traveled from South Carolina to the Mexican border in a rented white minivan, where upon arrival found themselves caught in the crossfire of rival cartel groups. The victims were claimed to be mistaken as Haitian drug smugglers. Captured video from the scene depicts the 4 victims being dragged into the back of a pickup truck by a group of men.
The American citizen's sudden abduction and unknown whereabouts prompted both American and Mexican law enforcement to begin a joint investigation. At that moment, the FBI offered a $50,000 reward for any information that could lead to the return of the citizens and the arrest of the individuals responsible.
On Tuesday, March 7th, via press conference, Mexican officials announced they had found 2 of the 4 victims alive, while the other 2 victims were reported deceased.
McGee and Williams were found alive at a house in the Laguna area. The 2 had been moved to various locations to avoid detection from law enforcement. Only one suspect has been arrested in the connection to the abduction, a 24-year-old who was tasked with watching over the victims.
As a result of this case, the U.S. State Department issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory for the state of Tamaulipas, citing crime and kidnapping as reasons to avoid the area.
Level 4 is the highest warning level in the U.S. Department Travel Advisory System can implement and has been issued in the past for Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. So what do you guys think about all of this? I mean, it's a little wild.
I agree. I honestly have a couple of questions that come up in my head after hearing the whole story. First of all, I looked into it and I saw the video of victims being put onto the back of the truck. First of all, 2 of them were already severely bleeding, so they were injured for a long time. Second question is, how is this incident going to influence the relationship between Mexico and the United States? And also, another fact that I would like to bring up, also a Mexican citizen was killed during the shooting that happened when they were kind of abducting the victims. Yes. I just think that there are so many questions coming up, so many questions about the safety of traveling to Mexico, and I'm just so glad that the victims who survived are alive, because the mother of that was initially traveling to Mexico. She has 6 kids.
I think honestly, the greater issue here is the massive crime rate and the cartel issue that's been going on for years in Mexico. That's right at our southern border. We're only about 2 hours away from the border ourselves, and that crisis has been getting worse and worse over the decades. I mean, in my home city, that's one of the most heavily trafficked cities and regions in the country, and that's a major problem. I think Mexican and U.S. law enforcement need to work closer together in order to combat these cartels, because this is getting out of hand.
Absolutely.
That's true. I also, when I was reading the article about the story, someone brought up the fact that those people who are just travelers, as the aim of the traveling was medical.
Cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, cosmetic surgery. They were mistaken, so it was not supposed to be them.
Right.
They were mistaken for someone else. I don't remember who, I don't want to lie, but...
They were Haitians. They mistook them for Haitian drug smugglers or something like that because of the color of their skin, something like that.
Yeah, they all identified as African Americans, originally from South Carolina. And the main thing that sticks out to me for this is the traveling to receive cosmetic surgery in a foreign country. I think it needs to stop. It's not safe. It has too many factors like this one, resulting in killing or post-surgery complications. You know, you're not in your home country or a country you're familiar with. You know, there's a language barrier, oftentimes different laws, policies. It's not safe.
But honestly, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, you hear a lot about these cosmetic procedures and people traveling to foreign countries. Most of the time you hear about it happening in Turkey, and you know, I've seen a lot of even TikTok videos about people sitting on a plane going back from Turkey with bandages on their noses and things, and it's just such a huge risk to be traveling to a foreign country where you may not know the language, like you said, you may not have insurance there. It's all kind of done, some of the stuff is done under the table, you know?
Right.
The simple fact is that it's cheaper. I mean, look at the medical bills in the United States, and you go to Mexico and you can get that like cut 50% off, 75% off. My boss from my former job, he traveled down to get care for his dog, a surgery that was done, and they charged him like $300, where in the U.S. that surgery would have been about $2,000. You got to think about that. That's
I
a
kind
lot
of
of people.
completely disagree with you guys because I lived outside of the U.S. my whole life, and 100% the quality of surgical, like the cosmetic surgery, is better outside of the U.S.
Really?
So this is kind of the reason why people travel to Turkey, even to dentistry, cosmetical surgeries. They're way better. And the question is, they're not even cheaper. It's also, like, as I've mentioned, is a better quality. So people are taking risks to travel and do the cosmetic surgeries outside of the U.S. because cosmetic surgeries here, I mean, any kind of error during a surgery can happen.
Right.
It's not guaranteed that if you go to Turkey, for example, you'll have a better treatment and the results of your procedure will be like 100% guaranteed. This is not the point. The point is the quality is better.
Right. And, you know, moving back to sort of a lot of the issues with the story, race is a big motivating factor for sure. And it can also happen on both ends. And what breaks my heart when I hear stories like this is because, you know, after something like this happens in Mexico, what if it fuels anti-immigration sentiment in America? What if people use it to justify anti-immigration sentiment, you know, and they use it as a way to be xenophobic and that kind of thing. So it's very multifaceted.
I think you all bring up some really great points. I think we're just going to have to monitor the situation and see what happens. 23 individuals have been charged with domestic terrorism after a violent demonstration on Sunday in Atlanta, Georgia.
Shortly after 5:30 p.m., a group living nearby music festival changed into black clothing and entered the construction site of a planned public safety training facility. At the moment, the facility was being utilized for the purpose of training police, fire, and emergency first responders.
Flaming bottles, rocks, bricks, commercial-grade fireworks, and even Molotov cocktails were thrown at officers. During the confrontation, construction equipment was also set on fire and left vandalized.
In response, neighboring police agencies arrived at the scene. The Atlanta Police Department used restraint and non-lethal methods in order to disperse the forming crowd.
The confrontation resulted in only minor injuries, with 21 of the 23 suspects reported to be citizens from out of state, while the remaining 2 held Canadian and French visas.
The $90 million project, dubbed, quote, Cop City by its critics, is expected to take up 85 acres and will include a shooting range, mock city, and burn building.
Opponents of the project have raised concerns over the potential militarization of law enforcement in the city, along with the possible risk of harm to marginalized communities and the impacts on forest and wildlife around the city of Atlanta.
Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum described the incident stating, quote, "This wasn't about a public training center. This was about anarchy, and this was about an attempt to destabilize," end of quote.
More protests are expected in the coming days. So, do you think the violence that has recently taken place at the planned training center against the police was justified? And do you think the Antifa movement might have had anything to do with the attacks?
I'm not sure about the movement particularly, but I do think what happened was wrong. However, I do understand the frustration from these individuals. I mean, we've seen the police brutality rates constantly increase, nothing is being done, and even when we have peaceful protests, still, I mean, we still don't have a solution. So I understand the frustration, but how they did it and how they went about it still was a little too severe.
You would say
in
too
my
harsh?
opinion. Yeah, too harsh.
But Honestly, when it comes to, how sometimes people are really passionate about the lands and the forests and just overall the environment, and they have reasoning for it. So I think that the part of people who were participating in the protest, not about the police question, like the militarizing people, as they've said, but about necessarily environment, because I looked deep into the case, they're taking 300 acres.
That's a lot.
300.
Yeah.
It's not like 85 that we have stated right here. When I look deeper, they're taking 300 acres just to like mock a city, basically. And they're gonna have burning forest and an open land and everything. I just think it's too much. If you took like a little bit less of the space, maybe there would be less protests, but...
Or maybe if they took the resources that, that they would spend on all of that and put it towards something more useful,
Yeah,
I
that's
just
true.
feel like you don't need to be that extensive for a safety training, like a mock
It's
city.
too much.
You guys do raise some interesting points. Should a project like the Police Training Center in Atlanta continue then as planned after the violent demonstrations which occurred on Sunday?
I would say change the plan, because 300 acres, once again, is too much.
Yep.
And the amount of people that actually put their work into saving the environment and changing the environment and just kind of fixing all the damage that humanity brought to our planet throughout the years. I think if you lower the amount of land you're taking, that might fix some issues, because there's no other solution for that.
Right, and it's also being done smack dead in the middle of Southeast Atlanta. I mean,
That's true.
Come on, let's push it back in the rural areas. Maybe that can be a better solution.
Absolutely.
Last week, areas of California experienced unprecedented winter storms, and the San Bernardino Mountains were one of them, receiving over 100 inches of snow.
Residents in Crestline and Lake Arrowhead have essentially been trapped in their own homes for more than 10 days. Frustration with the slow pace of clearing roads and many running out of food. Some endured gas leaks, fires, and roof cave-ins.
California Highway Patrol announced that proof of residency would be required to access major highways in the mountains once they reopen Monday. Concerns continuously grow as people run out of food, medicine, and other essential items.
According to the governor's office, there has been 7 million cubic yards of snow removed within the San Bernardino County state highways.
Lake Arrowhead local Michelle Calkins claims, quote, "They are doing what they can with the resources they have, but we need more help," unquote.
Along with other state agencies, the National Guard has launched its Black Hawk helicopters in efforts to save residents who need to escape. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this crazy snow storm going on?
We've been talking about it for 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
The snow and everything. Yeah, as we've said, some people of California, I think, are not prepared enough for that. And we've talked about the preparation as well last week, I think, if I'm not wrong. What do you guys think about it? Will there be more of that kind of
I sure hope not. Jeez.
Seriously.
Well, we
We've
hope
been going
not,
through
but
it.
what's the real answer?
I think we have,
will
I think we're just getting started. I think California is going to see a lot more extreme weather, whether that be in the summer. We've already seen extreme summers, 110 degrees, and now we got a gist of this winter extremism. So
The thing is that comes up in my head is I hope that the next winter will be a little bit less crucial, but people will still be prepared for
I mean,
it.
when people talk about climate change, they mostly talk about global warming. They
Yeah,
don't talk about snowstorms in California and
I mean,
snow
we've
in
suffered,
OC.
this
Yeah.
winter has been like a record-breaking storm for
Right.
us. And I mean, now we're entering into the spring season, which is supposed to bring in more rain. Like, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because I have a professor who lives in the San Bernardino Crestline area, and last night she could not make it to class because she was snowed in again. She had to have someone come and teach for her, but in one of the emails she sent us, she said, if I don't respond to you, it's because I can't, because our internet's down. Someone had to dig her out of her house the other day. Like, it won't end.
And law enforcement seems to be doing the best they can to save as many people and get them out of there before their resources run out, you know?
Sorry, the help is for sure there. I just hope that people will be more prepared for it next year. I think honestly it will be ending by the end of February or beginning of March, because it is impossible for it to be snowing in spring. We're not in Russia, we're in California. That's something that happens back in my country where it will snow in May and people are not surprised by that. But here it is like people really need to get be better prepared, I would say. On Tuesday, the North Korean leader Kim Jung Un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, warned that North Korea is ready to take action against the United States and South Korea following a seemingly threatening joint drill.
Kim Yo-jong's statement comes just one day after the United States flew a nuclear-capable B-52 bomber to the Korea Peninsula, showing their military strength against the Democratic People's Republic.
Both militaries are preparing to revive their largest field exercises later this month. This is not the first time these drills have taken place, as previous joint demonstrations took place back in 2018.
South Korea has stated approval in the capabilities of both allies to make a response to any potential North Korean aggression.
Just last month, Kim Yo-jong once again threatened the U.S. to turn the pain into the North's firing range. She said North Korea would consider a U.S. interception with North Korea ICBM as a declaration of war. I mean, last week we just talked about how the invasion is probably not happening, but now I'm not so sure. Is the United States prepared for a nuclear war against
I'd like to see them try.
Korea?
I mean, their hydrogen bombs, their rockets, they would get knocked out of the sky. We have a massive missile defense system from Hawaii, from Wake Island, from all these different Pacific islands. If North Korea even made an attempt to try to hit any U.S. island or U.S. site, they get blown out of the sky. We are geographically not close to North Korea at all. South Korea would suffer the most damage, maybe U.S. bases, but we, as Americans, are completely safe. We have the strongest military infrastructure in the world. We are totally safe.
Sorry.
I mean, I know we were talking about this last week and joking about how it's not going to happen, but I mean, all I'm going to say is 2023 bingo card.
I'm just going to say that the question that bothers me the most is, again, it's another war, another possibility of a nuclear war happening. And even though the Americans will be safe, what about the rest of the world? What about the people that are going to be dying during this war? What about all the sacrifices? And once again, we're going to bring more damage to the planet, because nuclear war is not something that is environmentally friendly.
I don't think it's, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Kim Jung Un actually will push the button. I think they've wanted credibility for a long time and recognition from the West and from everyone, because they're such a small hermit kingdom that has not changed significantly in some 70 years since the Korean War. So I really think that Kim Jong Un and his sister are looking for recognition from everybody else. Look, we have bombs, we have missiles, we could use them if we wanted to, but I really don't think so.
I mean, they've been out of the spotlight for a little bit because of the whole Ukraine thing. And, I think eventually at some point they were going to try and flex on America. But at the same time, like Amira was saying, there's a lot of people who could potentially get hurt, who could get caught in the crossfire, and citizens who, don't deserve to have something bad happen to them end up becoming collateral damage.
And also, sorry, babe. Yeah, but also I'm looking at the financial aspect. I mean, we've seen how much money we've sent over to Ukraine. And since we have signed a mutual defense treaty back in 1953 with South Korea to protect them from North Korea, whether America, our home base, is safe or not, if North Korea goes after South Korea, I think the damage is going to be crucial, and America is going to be sending billions of dollars out again.
Once again, and the taxes are going to rise. But what I'm thinking is, so you guys are saying that North Korea is trying to build their image in the around the world arena. That's what you're saying, just to show the other countries what they're capable of, and that.
Right. Absolutely.
That's the reason.
Their neighbor is strong. China has been the leading nation in the East for North Korea.
Yeah, it's true, but it sounds a little bit unreasonable to me, because it's a whole nuclear war just to prove that you're better or you're strong. I mean, what I think it can be a possibility of us being distracted by something else, American people, to take our attention away from something that is more important. I don't know what that is, but that's what governments like to do sometimes in order to distract people.
Last June, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and one particular pharmacy seems to have followed suit. Walgreens announces that they will no longer provide abortion medication in 21 Republican-dominated states.
Governor Gavin Newsom tweeted Monday, quote, "California won't be doing business with Walgreens or any company that cowers to the extremists and puts women's lives at risk," unquote.
Walgreens declined to make a direct comment on Newsom's tweet, though made a statement on Twitter saying, "We want to be very clear about what our position has always been. Walgreens plans to dispense mifepristone in any jurisdiction where it is legally permissible to do so."
As of now, no one knows what cutting ties entails, nor how it would affect Californians. More on California's plans for Walgreens is expected to come soon. So guys, should pharmacies withhold any type of medication as this one, abortion medication?
It depends on the ethics. I think the subject of abortion has been like a big subject of discussion for a long time, with the protests, with life. I don't remember the names of them, sadly, but
Anti-life?
yeah, that's
Pro-choice,
pro-choice, pro-life. I mean, the pharmacists. I mean, it depends on what type of medication and kind of what are the effects afterwards, after you take it, and how safe it is for women, and what are the restrictions for women to take them or not. Because obviously not all people read the instructions for the medicine, I'm not gonna lie. I do though, but other people, I've seen people take medication without reading the instruction, and it's just like crazy.
I honestly think the more important question here is, how does Governor Newsom plan to remove Walgreens from California? I mean, in all seriousness, how will the removal of Walgreens from California affect the other businesses that are also having second thoughts about staying or going in California? I mean, Walgreens operates some 600 stores in California. That's 10% of the job market for pharmaceutical companies. And I think that would be a major blow for the economy in California if Governor Newsom just removed all the Walgreens.
I mean, Walgreens, it's a business, but can a governor, do they have the power to remove an entire chain from a state?
Exactly.
I think one way to resolve this conflict will be maybe removing the division with pharmacy from Walgreens, since it raises so many questions and it is such a big discussion and it's just like a problematic kind of topic. But I don't know. Maybe removing actually a pharmacy from Walgreens will be a safe option.
I think it's just such a strange statement. Like, what is he going to do? I need more clarification.
And, removing a pharmacy also takes away the jobs for pharmacists.
Absolutely.
But it's less of a damage to the economy at the same time. You know what I mean?
That's true.
It makes sense. Instead of removing the whole store, just a bit, a small percent, if they actually want to remove it. But the statement overall sounds ridiculous to me.
Like removing the pharmacy?
Yeah, outside of the store.
But can the governor even remove that, though? Do they even have the power to do that is the question.
And Walgreens is a drugstore. Like, that is its identity. Like,
I know,
removing
but
the pharmacy from it.
I know, but it's just, I'm trying to find a solution.
Right. No,
I think a decent solution would be, seeing if some of these stores, that want to keep the medicine in their facility, maybe those can stay in California, and the other ones that refuse it, won't.
Right.
Right. I mean, if they're removing it from states where it's not legal, would they still agree to keep the medication in California?
Right. Are you potentially hurting Californians by removing birth control medication from your own state where women need it, in California? He's threatening to remove Walgreens from California. Is he technically punishing his own people by removing birth control medication in California?
Will he be removing the chain that sells it?
That is just such a confusing subject. A piece of land from Rancho Palos Verdes has been sliding into the sea.
Along the ocean's peninsula, looking over onto Catalina Island is a disaster waiting to happen. A dormant landslide complex was reactivated 67 years ago and is getting closer to destroying homes and surrounding infrastructure.
Houses on the hill are man-made foundations. The drive-up alone involves braving warped and rigid asphalt. The Palos Verdes Peninsula is known for being prone to landslides, as it's happened before.
As land moves horizontally and vertically, the possibility for disaster to occur increases. Over the last 15 years, the sections of the peninsula has moved from 100 to 225 feet horizontally and dropped 8 to 18 feet vertically.
The city routinely sends a crew once a month to fill cracks and maintain the asphalt around the area, costing roughly $1 million a year.
The plan to fix it is open for public discourse and will be the focus of the Los Angeles City Council meeting on March 21st. The plan requires a budget of $25 million for wells and $8 million for infilling and water drainage systems. The city hopes to begin the plan in 2024. Guys, this actually hits home for me because I'm a big ocean lover and I actually frequent Palos Verdes a lot. I try to get over there once a week if I can in this exact area. So I know the lives of residents are also in danger, but essentially my life is in danger too. So I'm hoping we can enforce something. But what people have to understand is Rancho Palos Verdes is also a lot of reserve areas. You know, these are protected nature spaces. So I'm really curious to know how construction workers and officials will go about implementing such a infrastructure type of system, you know?
That's true. I just think that it's geography once again. We as humanity cannot control land. Like, if the only thing we can do is to make the disaster, like the aftermath of the landslide, as small as possible, kind of lower the percentage of people who are going to be suffering from that and prepare for it. Maybe there will be some ways to kind of stop the landslide. What do you guys think about it?
You know, in the Pacific Ocean, there have been a ton of suggestions through different companies in order to grow the land, in order to grow the construction areas. They pump sand into the water in order to build up the island. If possible, if there's a concern that the nature reserve might shrink from the landslides, we could possibly implement some kind of land pumping measure into the ocean if we want to extend the land.
I don't know, Alexis, what do you think? You're our resident ocean girl here.
I don't know, because it's like I'm all for protecting reserve areas, and that area is very sacred to me. So just walking, doing my run, and I'm hearing freaking drills and all this, you know, seeing the plants get thrown out and, you know, but then essentially, I mean, our lives are at stake. A landslide can be so damaging and catastrophic. And Rancho Palos Verdes is a very hilly, geographic area. So it's definitely a serious thing. So I'm tired. I don't know how to go about it. I don't, but I want the best for the area and protecting nature, but also protecting the people.
Yeah.
Yes. Sure. And with that, that's all we have time for today.
Have a great week, everyone.
And stay tuned for more news, views, and info.
We'll see you next time on The Report.